Hi guys, I'm Sean, and you're watching my channel Shopworx. I'm going to show you a bunch of pictures and talk about the truck I built about 16 years ago here. So I picked this F-250 up at an auction there. It's got a 460 in it. It had a box on the back, a long box. I think it was $400 or $600. It was a long time ago, but I know we didn't pay much for it. Drove it back out to the shop and started hacking and slashing. So you can tell somebody got their money's worth out of the brakes. First thing I did was drop out the Dana 50 and bracketry on the front there. Put a lift kit in it from Skyjacker. I'd like to say that was a good thing, but in the end I ended up scrapping it, all that stuff out of there anyway. I wanted a short wheelbase on it, about the same as a Bronco. I ended up shortening the wheels down, or axle spacing down to 102 inches by moving the rear axle forward on the frame and then shortening the frame back up on it. And it got a bit of a lift that way as well by moving the spring hangers back down for the rear. So after I got that rear suspension relocated, got the axle back underneath it there, and started putting the front end together there with the Skyjacker lift kit on it, and it started going back together pretty decent anyway. Also put a 3-inch homemade body lift on the cab there to help out with the spacing there. At this point in time, the 36 TSLs I bought for this were sort of the end goal. That lasted pretty much 1 year, but that's another video. Ended up with that Skyjacker lift. I thought, hey, maybe I'll do a bunch of different things with this, so I ended up making a pattern and welding up a new one. I kept the original one. It's floating around somewhere up in the shop there. And turned out that after I got the lift in there, it sat pretty level the way the rear end and front end all went in, and got the shocks with the kit. That all fit together. So with all the tires on the truck now, I sort of knew what I needed for clearance for doing a deck. I got 3-inch exhaust going on it. I started mocking up a heavy-duty winch bumper for the front there. And with the frame shortened up, I ended up starting to work on the deck. Build a little short deck. I think I'm 3.5, 4 feet for that, and wanted to mount the spare tire up there, and a little toolbox and whatnot. Easy to tie stuff down on a deck when you're out wheeling. So I tried to keep the deck fairly light. It's all fairly thin gauge rectangular tubing on it. And once I figured I was doing a deck, it was easy to mount everything to. Mount a hanger for the exhaust, the spare tire, whatnot, just glue her on. Bumper I put on the back there was 4x6 rectangular 3/16. I was going to use it for an air tank, but never got around to it before I repurposed it off this truck later on. And it's held on there pretty good. I've been building bumpers like these for years. So somewhere in between, I gave it a 7-can blue spray bomb special there, and started working on an electric fan. That fan shroud I made, it's still there, but I ended up going with a fan out of a Taurus. Moved a lot more air that way. Also had to make a custom fuel tank to go in there. I was looking at doing like a big bus tank originally, but I decided against that. I wanted what little deck space I had to put stuff on. Figured the sump on the tank there and everything would work out quite well for the wheeling I was doing. Always pack more gas in a jerry can. So I got the winch bumper put on there. It's 8-inch C-channel and the old 8274 upright Warren, and started wiring some tail lights in because this was kind of semi-street legal-ish at the time. And you can see how I started running the airbox and snorkel, as well as mounting the fuel filter on the top there, and everything you can see at it and get at it. Everything's easy to get and work on. I had the deck painted all up and mounted the underbody box on top to keep a bunch of tools and parts in. And then I figured I'd start getting going on doing the rest of my air intake. And it's a conglomeration, all kinds of plumbing, pipe fittings, a toilet flange, electrical box, some Myers hubs, and some more plumbing adapters to clamp onto the throttle body there. All in all, that end of things worked out really well. And ended up getting her out wheeling that spring still. I got it out wheeling a couple times that year, and had some issues with fuel and whatnot. And you know, one of the things I wish I did different would be the emissions. One or two of the sensors there I took off when I did that throttle body air filter snorkel, and that truck ran rich. Every time you got her up in the high revs there, you just see the fuel burning rich out of there. We got about 4 miles to the gallon with it. It was pretty bad. You know, had tons of power, lots of axle shaft pop and torque. So, but that's something I do different for sure. I wouldn't even bother with that Dana 50. And we'll leave that stuff up into part 2. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll try to keep it coming.